This podcast contains explicit content.
Hardly Focused
presents. I think
the Acc and Jack Show.
I told myself, Mario, take it easy.
Jack.
Well, that's just fucking doodle dandy.
You are listening to the Acc and Jack Show.
The balance beam.
Blah, 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 blah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Acc and Jack Show. You can find us at accandjack.com. That is accandjack.com. Mr. Acciardi, how are you this eve?
Never been better.
Thank you for enduring all of the images I sent you on Facebook Messenger earlier.
Oh, that was a blast. That was fantastic.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm just in a mood, and it just so happened that a Bitcoin scammer on Instagram sent me a message, and every once in a while I get these, and I usually ignore them. But tonight I said, you know what? We're gonna have fun with this, and fun we had. I spoke to him. He introduced himself as, I don't even know if he told me his name. I mean, he had a name on Instagram. He had a handle, but I don't think he ever told me.
Name's Johnny Bitcoin.
But he said he was from Norway and currently lives in Oklahoma City, in America. He didn't specify the state, so there's that. But then, I mean, it was very obvious. His whole profile was just all about, it was just like pictures of him in suits, and all his posts were about selling Bitcoin and how he's a Bitcoin miner, and you can make tons of money selling Bitcoin. And some of the pictures, the currency was in Japanese yen. There was absolutely nothing American or patriotic about it.
Right.
So he starts talking at me, and I decided, let's have fun with this. So I spoke to him in all caps. I made sure that nearly every message I sent to him included either hello or greetings. And I told him I was from Gabagool, which is south. Apparently that's a conversation starter. And it just went on from there. And
that wasn't a red flag. He didn't go, well, goodbye. He was undeterred.
He kept going. We had a whole conversation, and I cannot tell for the life of me if he just knew I was screwing with him and just wanted to go along with it, or if he was really just that obtuse as a scammer.
Yeah, I see it as one of two possibilities. Either he felt like he hit the jackpot because he got a real idiot who he could scam easily, or he's been doing this for a long time, and most people on the internet are unironically just like that. So this didn't even register.
Oh, I don't care. He's a scammer. I'll just give it. His handle on Instagram is Milane, Milane, and I told him at one point. He tells me Oklahoma is fine, cold, and windy. Have you ever been to America? I responded with greetings. I would love to come to the America. I hear there are lots of guns in the America, and I love the Donald Thump. Hello. And the only thing that he said out of this entire conversation that made any bit of sense was, Donald is not longer our president. Quote unquote.
Oh my God.
And the other thing that I loved was, at one point I switched over to some African language, because he asked me he's like, you can't speak English. You don't speak English so well. Can you write to me in your language so I can use the translator and understand you better? So I switched over to Rwandan. I don't even know. It's just some random language.
It's an adjacent country to Gabagool.
I just picked some random ass language and I started speaking to him in it, and he started responding in it. So obviously we're putting Google Translator to the test. And the best part of the whole thing was it whatever this language is. Kinyarwanda. That's the language. Kinyarwanda. Whatever it is, it translates Bitcoin. I swear to God, this is serious. Google Translate says the word Bitcoin translates to Lord of the Rings. I swear to God, this is true.
That's got to be intentional on some level. Like somehow that was known to the people who started calling it Bitcoin.
Yeah, he said to me in this language, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it out loud, but the only word that came across in English was Bitcoin. And Google Translate is like, oh, you're speaking in Kinyarwanda? Bitcoin, yeah, that's Lord of the Rings in our language. So it morphed into a conversation about, at least from my perspective, about films. I told him that I was more partial to The Hobbit, and then asked if he ever saw a Serbian film. I don't think I showed you that part.
No.
It's because he just got, like, at that point, he was starting to get mad and just started going on about Bitcoin. Like, we weren't even exchanging pleasantries anymore. And finally, I switched back to both English and not typing in all caps. And I told him, I'm bored. Thanks for playing. You've been great. And then I wished him well on his scams.
Should have said, I've been drafted into the Great War. Goodbye.
Another day in Gabagool. Greetings. Another war. Have you seen the show on Adult Swim called Smiling Friends?
No, I have not heard of it.
On Adult Swim, they play ads like every commercial break for the show, and it just irritates the hell out of me because then they play this god-awful James Taylor song as part of the ad. But I actually watched a couple episodes of the show. It's actually pretty funny, and there's this character in one episode called Mr. Frog, who I think is supposed to be like a children's television star who just eats people. But he just, every other thing he says, he'll just say something, and then he always follows it up with "hello."
Okay.
So he was my source of inspiration as as Jack from Gabagool. So
yeah,
that's how he's.
I like how Gabagool also has its own fro.
They always do. There's always a fro, no matter what.
Yep.
There's always
no matter where you go on this planet, you'll find a fro.
So, all right. Well, that's how I spent my night. How have you been?
Oh, fine. Not nearly as interesting.
Well, I wanted to talk to you, Acc, because you and I are both basement dwellers. We're both mouth breathers. We're both nerds. And the big video game news is that Microsoft yesterday, the 18th of January, purchased Activision Blizzard for some ungodly amount of money.
Do we actually know how much? Has it been reported?
Yeah, $70 billion.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's not an exaggeration. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, that's not just a random number that you said that it sounds really big. That's the real number.
Yeah, it's one of if not the biggest like sales in history.
Mm-hmm.
And it tops, I think, Microsoft's. Well, I think the last biggest sale in history was the last thing that Microsoft purchased, which was Bethesda.
Yeah. Good point.
So, there's a whole series of I guess like facets to this whole thing. The first being that Microsoft is just buying everybody.
True. Yeah.
And they own everybody. They own Bethesda. I think Bethesda was like one of the last big acquisitions that they made, but they're just scooping up everybody. And previously, like Activision Blizzard was the conglomerate that was scooping up everybody.
Massive, yeah.
So, so there's that. It's an advantage to Xbox and PC gamers because of Game Pass. Now all these future releases will be. You won't find them on Sony platforms. You won't find them on PlayStation, but they'll be available on Game Pass, which is nice.
Yep.
Like Bethesda's current roster is on Game Pass, so that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
But the bigger thing about Activision Blizzard is just the PR nightmare that they've created for themselves.
Yes, they have not been doing well.
No.
Yeah, I mean, as most of the games that I play actively are in the Activision Blizzard family, Warcraft and Overwatch, both of which I play several times every week. And I think that Activision Blizzard has been doing a pretty terrible job the past several years. I think, like the PR nightmare obviously has not helped anything, and has been disgusting and awful in its own way. But even just looking at the quality of the games, they haven't been doing well. Like Overwatch hasn't had an update in a very long time. Bugs have gone unpatched for an extremely long time. Overwatch 2 keeps getting delayed again and again and again. World of Warcraft has been even before the lawsuit came out. Warcraft was doing horribly. Like the latest expansion is like nobody likes it. It's doing horribly. They basically had to halt all updates for like a year and do some emergency hot fixes to fix things that were just completely and utterly broken. It's just been a nightmare. So my reaction to hearing this news has been a resounding cool. Like maybe things won't get better, but they probably can't get worse, and they might get better.
Yeah.
So
Microsoft they're expanding. They're obviously like at some point I think they're going to be too big for their britches, but let's just forget for 7 years that the Xbox One didn't exist. But think about 2001 until 2013. They were on top for a long time. It's been like sort of a back and forth now for the last couple decades between Microsoft and Sony, who's the better of the two. And there was a period of time when the Xbox 360 was just dominant and Sony was just misstepping everywhere with the PS3. Then there was the role reversal where Microsoft then basically pulled a Sony with how they did the Xbox One launch with that dumbass Don Matrick, who's like, oh, we have a solution for people who can't get online with the Xbox One. It's called the Xbox 360. God. The last time I went on a tangent about him, I said some things that I probably should have never said. So I won't I won't set myself off
now.
I won't set myself off again. But Microsoft kind of recovered, but then now they're back on top with the Xbox Series consoles. The Series X, it's almost impossible to find. The S though is like everywhere. Like it's at some point I'm gonna cave and buy an S because they're in stock. And Game Pass. They've really done well with Game Pass. So Microsoft is back on top. I don't think they're going to really hurt themselves by now having, among all these other developers, Activision Blizzard now under their umbrella. You're right. They can't. I don't think they can do any worse. But that probably doesn't bode well for any of the current projects that they have. I don't see Microsoft in the next year saying and recognizing, hey, Warcraft 3 Reforged was like the video game equivalent of dysentery. Let's relaunch the project and try again.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. And a lot of projects that are in development are probably going to be too far along right now for anything to be noticeably, we're not going to see like a huge sudden change in direction overnight, because everything is obviously planned a year plus in advance before anyone even finds out about it. But, still, Bobby Kotick is out. I don't think anybody likes him. No. He'll be there for the duration of the transition, and then he's leaving.
Guy's literally a walking potato.
Yeah.
Bobby Kotex. That's what I call him. Bobby Kotex.
Yeah. So, hopefully that'll signal a good direction.
Yeah. Is it the purchase amount is like about the same that Bobby Kotex makes in about a year, which is,
yeah.
But even before And I have to remember his name's not actually Bobby Kotex, but I'm going to keep calling him that. You said Bobby Kotick, and I'm like, who? Yeah, even before this past summer, when people were blowing whistles on just the culture at Activision Blizzard, and then the actual lawsuit happened, the sexual harassment lawsuit. People already hated Bobby Kotick just because of how much money he makes per year.
Yes. And when was it that Activision first bought Blizzard? I think 2008.
I think so.
Well, when they merged.
Yeah.
I remember at the time he made some comment that really like pissed a lot of people off. And it's one of those comments that it makes sense, but you shouldn't say it. Where he said something like, "My job is to strip all the fun out of video games." And like, I get what he's saying. His job is to represent the shareholders and make sure that the games make a profit above and beyond anything else. But that attitude was really seen as kind of like the epitome of what happens when corporate makes too many decisions when it comes to the games. You now get something that's, you know, just a mishmash, a hodgepodge of corporate, you know, safe decisions that no fans actually end up enjoying.
Right. Yeah, you're right about just their current slate, because it's really just like, I mean, what do you got? We have Diablo 4 in development.
Mm-hmm.
There's Overwatch 2, which will probably never see the light of day, and in Warcraft.
Yeah.
So Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, I know we're not talking about like, because I'm just trying to think of like what did they have under their belts that's like original? Well, not necessarily original, but Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, the remake that came out in 2020, was absolutely like phenomenal. Like, it was the perfect game. It's an instance where a game is remade and better than the original.
Right.
And
that's pretty rare.
Yeah. And the developers went through like great lengths to, retain the nostalgia factor, like with the soundtrack and the skaters in the game. Like all the skaters in the game are now much older than they were in 1999. They're all still alive and kicking though. And they all came in and did like motion capture and facial capture. And it's kind of jarring, like, because some of them are old now and fat.
Yeah.
They're very not, they don't skate anymore and they're not in shape, but their likenesses, their modern day likenesses are in the game. So that's just the amount of detail that went into this. The game comes out, and then I want to say, if they weren't already under their ownership, Activision Blizzard purchased the developer, and it was like, yeah, you're going to be a Diablo developer.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what the hell? Like, okay, like, crush everyone's hopes and dreams. I mean, if I don't think anyone like at that studio lost their jobs as a result of that acquisition. I could be totally wrong, but that's definitely one way to suck out the morale. So
yeah.
I'm with you, Acc. I have hopes that nothing could get any worse. But because it's not just the Blizzard games, it's Call of Duty too. You know, that's the other like tentpole franchise.
Here's one that has had a bit of an ironic, circuitous journey. Crash Bandicoot, now a Microsoft exclusive.
Okay.
I just
that's
loved that word, Microsoft. But they used to be like they were basically PlayStation's version of Mario was Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
He's owned by Activision now, and Activision is now owned by Blizzard. I mean, by Microsoft.
Yeah. Now, Crash, the Insane Trilogy, and I believe Crash 4, I mean, those came out on all the platforms. So it's just at that point now. True. It's kind of like Sonic now, where Sonic's on all the platforms. But now that the hands have changed, which is that is bizarre. That is jarring to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Call of Duty is going to be interesting. Mike Terrar was going to join us tonight, and he couldn't. But I reached out to him and asked him if he had any thoughts, because he, still tries to play games when he can.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes he does it while we're recording podcasts because that's the only time he can get away.
Fair.
And his feedback was simple. It was, as long as there are no microtransactions, and that I don't think can be guaranteed, because Microsoft is still pretty greedy when it comes to that.
Well, here's the thing. I actually am not inherently against microtransactions. It depends on the type. And I think a good example of this, we talked about how Microsoft bought Bethesda. Elder Scrolls Online has a robust microtransaction cash shop. I think it's handled very well because it's 99% optional cosmetic things that will not affect the actual gameplay. You're not going to, get content that other people can't get because you spent more money. You're just going to be able to look like you have fire on your head or have a really cool house in game or something,
right.
Things like that. I think when people hear microtransactions, they think of like those phone apps where it's like you can either wait 6 hours for the next level to unlock or pay $5.99 to unlock it now. That kind of shit sucks.
It does.
And is horrible. But I think it is possible and has been done by Microsoft to have microtransaction shops that are just sort of like a fun layer of extra, whipped cream on top of a already solid game.
I agree with it. I like that. But there's let's use Halo Infinite as an example, because that just came out. That has microtransactions in it, and it's all cosmetic as far as I understand. But people are still upset about it because it's a Halo game. And putting MTX in there is it deviates from, what made Halo so great. But you can pay like $5 to have kitty ears on your Spartan's helmet.
Yeah. And I mean, I do think in some degrees, a lot of that is very stupid, and I wouldn't personally make the purchases. But this is another one of those areas where, we kind of have to speak with our wallets if we want anyone to actually listen. And a lot of times gamers aren't willing to do that. We complain about a certain practice, and then we just continue to reward the companies who do that. And it's only after several catastrophic failures that they tend to be inclined to change their tune. The big one being that I can think of, EA's decision that every single game would have to have an online component.
Oh yeah, screw that.
And that was a big thing with BioWare's games, because the older Mass Effect and Dragon Age games were just really solid single-player story-driven RPGs. And then with Mass Effect 3 and Andromeda and Dragon Age Inquisition, they started having all the online modes that did really poorly. And they were like pretty resoundly panned, and they've announced that for the next Dragon Age game, it will be a 100% single-player. They're not going to do any sort of online component, and a lot of people are very happy about that.
Well, it's not to mention that like EA and BioWare has gone through their own mess with
exactly. They got hit with a lot of really bad press and a lot of very poorly reviewed games. And I completely forgot Anthem even existed. That was another big one where that was BioWare, and it was an all online. It was, I assume, similar to like Destiny or something. Like
it was
you're always online.
Yeah. It's a live service loot shooter. It is their response to Destiny. It really, the only difference between, I think, the two is Anthem is in third person. So
yeah, and Destiny still exists.
Destiny, at least Bungie found their footing with Destiny 2. The first Destiny was a mess. It was a mess in development. It seemed like it was going to be really good, and then decisions were made that bungled the release of the first game, and they were able to kind of reboot themselves through DLC. Really, Destiny 2 is like, it might be Destiny, but it's not a bad game. It's boring. It's a boring, attractive yet boring game. Anthem,
it's not something I've ever had any interest in playing. I feel like if you're gonna if it's an online game, to me, community is extremely important.
Yes,
and it's the same with Fallout 76, right?
Oh.
Fun game. Yeah. I enjoyed it a lot when I played it, but there are just no utilities to be able to have a community. So I lost interest very quickly.
I agree. I really even right now, I want to go back and play Fallout 76, and I can't bring myself to. I put a lot of hours into it, and I'm just like, what's the point in coming back?
Yeah.
And I think I only ended up playing and really only exploring about 20% of the overall game. I did not get very far into it. So, Anthem, I mean, they pretty much canceled all future development on the game, and I think they moved pretty much everyone over to Dragon Age, and then the next Mass Effect. But EA too.
And the same thing happened with Andromeda, which sucked. I think the game had a lot of potential, but the base game didn't sell well, and they just were like, any DLC plans, we're just scrapping and pretending it never happened. They just swept the whole thing under the rug.
I mean,
rather than try to patch it up.
I never played it, but I'm sure people are still butthurt over how 3 ended, and the fact that a DLC was released that changed the ending of the game. So
yeah, that was a whole thing. The Mass Effect ending controversy was very bizarre.
It's like how I Met Your Mother, how that ended when they had to come out with an alternate ending because everyone was pissed off about the original one.
Well, maybe we'll get lucky and get a Mass Effect father.
Hey, there is. I watched the 2 episodes of it on Hulu. How I Met Your Father.
Was it any good?
It's actually pretty good. There's actually connections to How I Met Your Mother. I was pleasantly surprised to see that. And the first episode, they did a little tribute at the end of Saget, so that was nice.
Okay. Yeah,
I
nice.
respect them for acknowledging that because he went uncredited for the whole series. How I Met Your Mother. So, EA learned their lesson too with Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Difficult goddamn game. I never finished it. It's just it gets to a point where it's just infuriating to play. But it's a very good game. But it's single player. They learned their lesson. Yeah, it's 100% single player. And when they announced that, people were very ecstatic to hear that because this was coming right after the Battlefront Fallout.
Yeah,
the most downvoted comment in the history of Reddit from the EA community manager trying to justify microtransactions. But it wasn't like what you and I were just talking about with cosmetics. It was literally you can pay to unlock Darth Vader and
exactly. I remember that
the strongest weapon in the game and just destroy everybody. And they were charging people for that. And because then someone else equated what it would take to unlock that through natural gameplay, and it was some inhuman amount of hours and progression and just not worth it. Impossible. Right. You wouldn't be able to do it in anyone's lifetime.
Yeah, and plus, if you're playing against people who already have that advantage, you're just going to constantly get destroyed for 1,000 hours before you can be on an equal footing.
Just really quickly, some of the studios that Microsoft owns now beyond Activision Blizzard, 343, which is current Halo developers. Coalition, they do Gears of War. Compulsion, they did We Happy Few. Double Fine. The Initiative, In Exile, Mojang, the developers of Minecraft. Obsidian Entertainment, that's Fallout New Vegas and The Outer Worlds. Rare, which if you had the Nintendo 64, then of Rare.
Banjo-Kazooie and Conker's Bad Fur Day and all that. I actually have the Rare collection for whatever Xbox console I have.
I have it too. And the only game I ever played on it, just guess what game the only game was I played on it.
I don't know.
Battletoads.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking that was one of them. Yeah.
And then, so that's all the studios that they own, and then literally anything that's under ZeniMax Media in Bethesda. So like id Software and Arcane and Bethesda proper. So I'm hopeful for AB's future and like what that means for like their current roster of games, but like don't forget, even though like Bobby Kotick is like getting outed as part of this whole deal, and this is also Microsoft realizing like, hey, Activision Blizzard is like really souring the video game industry as a whole. Let's try to rectify that by spending $70 billion. Yeah. But was that sound me? That must have been...
I'm pretty sure. I don't think it was my end.
You know what it was? I bought the Stream Deck, the thing that you always see the streamers use. It's that like little... It's like, it looks like a keypad almost. You can use it to like switch between like different apps. And so like if I press like this button, it like will switch my camera angle. Apparently I have the timer. I'm using the timer on it, and the timer went off and makes a sound, and I didn't know that.
Wow.
So,
Well, good night, everybody.
Anyway, oh God, I lost my train of thought. Something about porn. Yeah. Oh, I love porn.
Yeah, just them souring the industry and Microsoft to say, if you're not going to get your shit together, we'll get your shit together for you.
Yeah, we'll happily spend $70 billion to do it. Well, they're taking that hit, but I guess it's chump change for Microsoft. So, but
man, I mean,
Kotick though, he's still getting like an insulting amount of money.
$250 million, I think.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't need that much money. He's gonna get all his money on the way out. Like through stock options, through like severance, whatever it is, he that's what he's going to get as he leaves.
Yep.
So, which is I know that much doesn't feel like a victory. Like when I first saw this news yesterday, I'm like, does that mean Kotick's gone and now Phil Spencer is going to be in charge? Well, I guess that's the case, but it doesn't necessarily mean that like Kotick's getting out. With nothing. He's getting a lot out of it, and he's probably going to be like
he's not getting punished, basically.
Yeah,
but I'm just hoping that things go in a at least slightly different direction, especially for Warcraft. And I've been playing World of Warcraft on and off pretty much continuously for about 16 years now. I've taken breaks over the years. There have been a couple instances where I like stopped playing for about 2 years before finally coming back again, but I always end up coming back. Right now, retail World of Warcraft is awful. I actively hate it. I forced myself to play through the most recent expansion content and hated every moment of it. I was like, this is the least fun I've had in recent years. It's bad.
What about but Classic? We all liked Classic, didn't we?
That's why I have a subscription. Your Classic subscription and your retail subscription are in one bundle. Mm-hmm. So I play right now. It's on the Burning Crusade, the first expansion pack that originally came out back in 2007. I think is the current content in Classic. I love that. Mm-hmm. I play that every day, and it's wonderful. It's as fun as I remember it being. Community is great. You go over to retail, and it's
awful. Nothing
makes sense. The story is horrible. The gameplay is weird and streamlined. The world building just doesn't make sense anymore. Everything is just like sprawled out and disconnected. It's just very weird, and yeah, it really just feels like everyone involved in the original project, in the original expansions that everyone loved and remembers fondly, isn't there anymore. And no one who's there has any idea how to bring things back to the way they were, or just doesn't want to. It's just bad.
See, like just in general with like, WoW, I can't. If there wasn't a subscription cost, I'd probably play the hell out of it, but that's or if it was like if it was like PlayStation Plus, like if it's something that you could just pay like $50 for a whole year, and you have the access to it, that would be nice. It's just like I'll sub for like a month for WoW, and even then I only play for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then I never touch it again. It's like, okay, why am I paying for this?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the only MMO on the market that still has a subscription fee. Pretty much every single other one has gone buy to play or optional subscriptions. Like, again, the other one that I have the most experience in with is Elder Scrolls Online.
Yep.
That one, you buy the game once, you never have to spend another cent. You can buy a monthly subscription, and that gives you a bunch of tokens to the in-game cosmetic shop, or you can just buy things that you want with your money, whenever you see fit. But there's no mandatory subscription fees. I can't think of a single other MMO that still has them.
What do they call it in Elder Scrolls Online? Is it Crowns?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Crown store.
Yeah, I've played a little bit of ESO. I was trying to get into it, and it was just like one of those things where I think one night I played it for about 4 straight hours and then just never never played it again. I got it on Xbox. I do remember that it was right after Eddie Van Halen died, and I was in a public area, and someone was standing on top of a fountain, and they had their mic just on permanently, and they were just playing Van Halen songs through it, and it was just like a impromptu MMO concert. I think they had the characters playing instruments, and there was just like a crowd of people around there. I'm like, see, this is why MMOs are cool. Someone is doing this.
Oh, I love that.
And no one's griefing them. Like, others are just allowing it to happen and enjoying it. And I think that's part of the reason I was just there. I'm like, this is nice. This is cool.
Yeah, that's the thing. Elder Scrolls Online, it kind of has the opposite problem of Fallout 76 mentioned earlier. Fallout 76 is a great Fallout game and a really bad online game.
Yeah.
Elder Scrolls Online is a great online game, but it's not an Elder Scrolls game.
No,
if you enjoy Skyrim and Oblivion and Morrowind, that does not mean you'll like ESO.
Yeah.
They're not anything like each other whatsoever. You have to like MMOs to want to play ESO. A lot of people just don't like the genre, and that's fine.
And you're going when you go from a game like Skyrim to ESO and what they have of Skyrim in the game, and it's bad. It's like diet soda.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like going from Crayola to Rose Art. It's just not good. It just doesn't look the same. It's lost all its feeling.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'd like to try it again, but I don't know. It's MMOs. I'm weird with MMOs, and I'm the same way with Sims, builders, like any of those types of games. I'll play consistently for 2 straight weeks, and then I don't ever. It's very rare if I ever pick the game up again.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, to me, MMOs are all about the community. If they don't have the tools there to foster a community, then I'm not going to have any interest. It's not going to I would if I didn't have a guild that I really enjoyed playing with, I wouldn't be able to play World of Warcraft. I would not every time I resub, I find a group that I really jive with and I stick with them. Mm-hmm. And that makes it fun to me. If I were just going around on my own, I wouldn't enjoy that. I wouldn't have fun.
See, that's the other thing that's admirable that you do that I've never done is ever want to play socially, play with I've played Destiny with friends before, and that's fun. And there's some of those games where it's it's like how we used to play Left 4 Dead together all the time. It's you have to know the people that you're playing with. Fallout 76, for example, they with an update made it more like a traditional single player Fallout game, which I appreciated, but there were still elements of it that would only be fun or feasible to play if you were with others. Like public events, daily events. There's things that are they give you an hour to go through a power plant and fix everything in the power plant. You get really nice rewards for doing it, but you need to do it with other people. I've tried soloing.
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
It's torture. Is it doable? Sure. Is it fun? No. And I think that's the last time I played Fallout 76 is because I got I ran out of time. I had one thing left to do and I ran out of time. I'm like, well, fuck this.
Yeah. I hear that.
It's the only way you can get goddamn stim packs in this game. And I failed miserably. So if only Fallout, because here's the thing, with MMOs, you have to go backwards a little bit in terms of your technology because you have large worlds and you're going to be constantly updating them. So like, games like World of Warcraft and ESO are going to look cartoony and like they're a couple generations behind. Fallout 76 looks absolutely gorgeous. And I wish Fallout 4 looked that nice because they took Fallout 4's engine and modified it. And I'm like, why can't Fallout 4 look like this, man? Fallout 4 is so much better. Biased too because it's local, but still.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, I hope and wish for nothing but the worst for Bobby Kotick. Hopefully people sue him with this whole lawsuit's going on that he ends up losing all that money, but one can only hope. So
that would be nice.
Anyway,
clean house, get all the perverts and assholes out of there, and
relaunch.
Hopefully
It'd be cool if they could split off Activision and Blizzard as part of this like arrangement. So like we're not calling it Activision Blizzard anymore. Like Blizzard can go back to being its own
good point.
entity.
Just have it be each team be their own thing.
Yeah, have Blizzard keep doing what they're doing, but just have it be Blizzard, and then have Activision continue disappointing everybody with Call of Duty. All right, Acc, thank you very much.
Yeah, of course.
I always enjoy talking video games with you because you play video games.
God knows I play them a lot.
I'm probably going to go play Fallout 4 after this because
nice. I've been playing New Vegas.
Nice. All right. By the way, this is going to be, I guess, a topic for another episode of the show. But speaking of Vegas, on Friday, I'm going to do my best to spend. It's got to be at least $1,000 to go to this goddamn festival in Las Vegas happening later on this year. I'm sure
was that the When We Were Young?
Yeah. Oh my God. Just the bands that are playing, and it's on my birthday, and I got friends out there that are going that want to go. It's gonna be a nightmare, and like, I've enjoyed having money. I will not have any more money after this. I'm probably going to foreclose on my house because of the amount of money that's going to be spent on this. But
worth it. It's
absolutely going to be worth it. And with what they're doing, I'm sure every band that's performing that day will get enough time to maybe play 3 songs each. All right. We will wrap this up, and we will talk at you next time. Yeah. All right. Say goodbye. No, we don't have that.
No. Say hello.
Let me try that again. We'll talk at you next time. See you. Bye.
Goodbye.
Privatization may not have happened.